Hello everyone, welcome to this Motive webcast that we're going to be doing. The Motive is a creative networking event for young people. Due to the chaos that's happening in the world right now, we're moving over to a more digital format to still bring people together and network. On this webcast, we're going to be doing interviews and performances from artists in the music industry and from all over Birmingham.
If you want to get in contact with the Motive, we're based in different regions of the West Midlands. So the Motive BHX is, you can reach us on Instagram at motivebhx. And for Walsall, it's Walsall Motive.
And there's also one coming to Dudley soon. So look out for that if you're in the Dudley area.
Yeah, so if you are in any of those areas and are looking for a way to connect with other people or just present yourself and just begin to get into the industry, then drop us a message, comment on this video, and let's get connecting.
The Motive project is under Lyfeproof. We're helping young people set up their own events and also gain experience in different job roles. So we've got opportunities for them to learn about business, how artists work, and how to manage their own events. So our first artist that we'll be playing is Sky Maya. Sky, we actually met in one of our live events in Walsall, and yet she has kindly sent over her tracks for us to promote her on this platform.
Hi, my name's Sky Maya. I'm a musician from West Bromwich. I guess you're probably about to hear my songs right now. Mushroom Soup is probably the first one. And then a Psychedelic Waltz, which is my newest song. I literally finished recording it today.
I sit here and drink my mushroom soup. The room's spinning. It don't taste better than you. It don't taste better than you. We sit here, spark it up, the room's spinning, it's clear. I need you as much as mushroom soup. We're walking in a forest, looking for him. When an army of the dead came running, running, running out of the mist. The mushroom soup kicks in. It felt almost as comforting as my imaginary friend, almost as real as when something ends. I really do need you. We sit here with the mushroom king in a glass room, observed by everyone, judged by the masses. We sit here, drink it up. Is that enough? It's not clear. If we've had too much, there's no instruction book for us.
So now that leads us to our first speaker of the event. So this event, the theme of it is to do with studios and mental health. So the first speaker is Emma Mendes. We met her through the Lyfeproof work that we do in schools over the West Midlands. She's a really, really good public speaker, singer, business owner, entrepreneur, and she really helps young people, especially ethnic minorities, get into music and the arts. She provides a space for them, and she's a very talented singer herself.
Seeing her work with young people when we went into the schools and we're doing that project together, like seeing her work with just different creatives and how they work and how confident they are, and to see someone from going from not being so confident to by the end of the day being confident because they'd be under her all day. Yeah, it's just great to see that how she can actually have an active effect within a matter of hours as well. So it's really good to see that.
Hi, this is my at-home interview. Your questions, your introductory questions start with, can you tell us about yourself and how you got to this point in your career? I have always sang. I have always had the ability to sing naturally. I failed my GCSEs, but auditioned to get into college to do a BTEC National Diploma in Popular Music. That led to doing a university course at Coventry University to get a BA Honours degree in music and professional practice. When I left from university, I went to the job centre and there were no jobs for singers, dancers, sportsmen, and a lot of people who were Black minority ethnic groups at that time had talent but were jobless. And so therefore I found a niche that I wanted to meet in making people employable in the arts myself. And so I became self-employed and helped many other creative people become self-employed or start to incubate themselves in creative business. And so at this point in my career, I have a resource that I rent out to creative people who have an idea and want to start, because having an understanding of expenditure versus income is very important if we're going to build bravely and forward thinking in a way that will benefit the community by creating business that will sustain creatives. What was your aspiration or inspiration growing up, and could you tell us a little of your influences? Okay. My aspiration growing up was to be a singer. Again, I'll say my aspiration was to be a singer. I achieved that by the time I was 13. I was singing out there at community events and I became a singer. By the time I was 16, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know how to spell it. I couldn't find any places that would teach me to be an entrepreneur. So by the time I was 21, I started my Anyone Can Sing Vocal Academy and became enterprising. My entrepreneurialism kicked in once I had multiple different businesses and business structures, which started about 28, 29 years old, when I was able to achieve running multiple businesses. And so I achieved my aspiration there. My influences were Pato Banton, who came and taught us at school, at college. My influences was Monica, the singer, and Jamelia from Birmingham. She did it, like, you know, she was out there, she was from Birmingham, so that was an influence for me at the time. What does a typical day look like for you? A typical day for me as an entrepreneur means I don't get up and particularly go to work. So a typical day would look like creating. How can I build this website? How can I put out fires? How can I encourage others? What phone calls need to be made? What groundwork needs to be done? when I was between 21 and 28, I was moving and shaking like no other. I had resources, I had things in place that I put there because I get down to the nitty gritty. If I can't do it myself, I'll pay somebody to do it. And if I can't pay somebody, I have to go out and look for the money to make the income to pay somebody to get something that I can't get done. So I'm very much a nothing to something character, and I am very tunnel vision in terms of, if I'm 21 today, by the time I'm 60, I need to know that I have paved a way. I'm very blood, sweat, tears kind of person, but I cannot work for anybody. I find that very difficult because my passion isn't there. So a typical day for me is wake up, what does my heart want to do? Now, when I became a mother, all that moving and shaking stopped for me, really. And I became in a cloud of confusion, and I'm just now getting out of that and getting back to what did I used to do in order to pave the way and thrust forward. And I have to revisit the basic structure and rules of success. Pen to paper plan, foresight, vision. Where do I want to go? Blinkers, put them on and move towards it. Face your fear when you feel like, oh, I can't do it, and go. So today, a typical day in my life is wake up, deal with my child, get him where he needs to be, and then focus on where the next steps are for me. I'm at foundation 5. Foundation 1 for me was finishing university. 2 was advertising until I didn't have to advertise. People still call my phone today. Step 3 or foundation 3 was training celebrities, training even at least Z-listers at that time. Foundation 4, become a mother and sustain yourself. And now I've just got to that level 5 where all of that cannot fall through because the groundwork has been set and nobody can rip that ground out from underneath me. So it's every foundation is hard. Once you get to the top, you get complacent, you get like, okay, this is my day to day. And when you have to break through into a new level, that takes some doing. So I've just broke into level 5, and that means build the website and earn income from people who are international that can reach me via technology. What does a typical day look like for you? Done that one. What would be your advice on dealing with stress and adversity in your industry? Stress and adversity in the industry is always external. It's an external thing. The pressures are put on you. You look left, you look right, you see what everybody else is doing, and you're thinking, I'm not doing that. Then there is truly realizing what you want to do. So dealing with stress is always about talking to somebody. When I'm stressed, I speak to my mom, I speak to my nephew, I speak to my auntie, speak to my partner, and these people are around me so that if the inner monologue is going overtime because the fear of moving forward is present in my being, I deal with the stress the one way that I know how to. Don't bottle it up, speak to somebody. Okay, studio and communication questions. What is the best way to get in contact with you and other studios? The best way to get in contact with me is 07983417736. My number is out there because if anybody needs to contact me, I don't want it to be difficult to reach me. Other studios, Instagram, Facebook. If any other studio is out there that you know about, their contact details should be online. Mine is dimestudios.co.uk. That's the website. My Anyone Can Sing is any numerical one can sing.com, and my number, best way to contact me, and Google. What facilities does your studio include? Can you give us an idea of prices and offers? Our recording studio, in fact, let me start at Dime Studios was formerly Anyone Can Sing Vocal Academy. It is a space with a stage, backline for musicians. When I say backline, I mean drum kit, bass amp, keyboard amp, guitar amp, XLRs, microphones. That's a backline. So bands can come and rehearse. It's £8 an hour. There's mirrors along the wall for choreographers to run their dance classes, or for people to come and do practices. There's a recording studio that I built in there that is £6 per hour for engineers that are looking to come out of their bedroom or their home environment and continue to build their clientele with their price on top. If you can self-engineer all by yourself and you come in without trying to build a business around it, that's £10 an hour. The reason that the price is so low is because personally coming up, I couldn't find anywhere that was affordable to do dance classes or to teach my my vocal sessions outside of Summerfield Community Centre, which was like £6 an hour at the time, and I think it's like £7 or £8 or £9 now. So I took that ethos. I found £25 an hour very, very high for me as a recording artist, and as a performing artist, I got my hours up. Prolific performer, I can go and smash the stage, but when I went into the recording studio, I didn't have enough hours of practice and couldn't afford the hours of practice that I needed to become a great recording artist. And so again, with my nothing to something mentality, I just built my own studio. And so I took that ethos and apply it to the community and say, it needs to be affordable and you need to get your hours up, but you do need to invest in yourself. Otherwise, when things are free, I found you just don't take it for what it could be if you was paying for it. So I didn't want people to take for granted but also afford, and so therefore those are our prices. That's £10 an hour for the studio if you self-engineer, £6 for the studio if you are building yourself as an engineer and paying clients, £8 per hour if you're a choreographer or dancer or want to use the main studio area for practice, and £8 an hour for band rehearsal. What facilities does your studio include? And can you give us an idea of prices and offers? Oh, sorry, I missed this one. What is your advice for young people wanting to build business relationships with music studios and producers? Okay, when you're building relationships, people believe in you. They really do. Sometimes people can see where you're going before you can even see where you're going. When I was studying music at university, I learnt from the careers office that you don't have to study music to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself out there, and that's just the bottom line. You must put yourself out there in order to see what you get back. Not everybody's going to love you, like you, or appreciate you, but somebody will. Somebody's going to feel like, I didn't like that person before, but they're moving. Wow. Move. Go. You're a creative. There's no other option. You've got to put yourself out there, create and go, but create in your own way, create in your own style. The pressures of trying to do what everybody else is doing or copy is a real pressure, and it will stress you out. Always come back into your internal self and think, well, I'm a creator, and do just that, create. And then you will attract the people. Instead of seeking people, you will attract the people. Do you have any tips for artists on a budget? What can I get for 50 to 150, etc.? I teach people who I believe are going to be the stars of tomorrow. And my current advice is to buy your home studio for the reasons I gave earlier. You need to get your recording hours up, and recording studios and engineers are expensive. When I didn't have a website, I went on YouTube and I built my own website. When I didn't have a studio and couldn't afford studio, I earned the money to build my own studio. On a budget, you have to invest in yourself. That might mean online lessons. You pay what you believe the worth is for what you think that you need to get out of it. So how much is a great investment in yourself? Priceless. Whether you have to work at Tesco to get the money to invest in yourself to do what you think, or complete a project that you set out to do, to put yourself out there, you go work. What's your budget? Your budget, go earn it. Figure it out. You've got this is what you need to know. You've got this. You do what it takes. And unless you're talking to me about the blood, sweat and tears that it takes to do it, then you're sitting down. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. What kind of information is out there about funding for young creators? PRS do funding. Any funding that you go for is going to be hard to get. The main thing that I've found, and I've got a success rate of 100%, to be fair. I've never gone for funding and not got it. And I'm very much nothing to something, so I very seldom go for funding. Because when I don't get it, I break down those doors, I go kick them down. What I wrote on the paper was what I said I was going to do, so don't tell me that you can't fund it. For creators, be prepared to be on the radar. Go to the network, and it's not about what... when you are doing funding applications, it might not be a sure bet, but bet on yourself. And when they tell you no, you go, don't feel disheartened. You take that information, that those words that you wrote down, and you make something of it. Funding is fickle and it's hard to get, and the competition is thick. So if you're afraid of competition, work a job, fund yourself. If you ain't afraid of competition, if at first you don't succeed, then try until you get it. And if you don't get it, you haven't lost, you've gained. Always look for the blessing and the silver lining in everything that you're going through. Music studio specific, could you inform us of the legal side of beats, copyright, etc., in terms of sampling and getting samples cleared? It's a producer side of things, but I am a jack of all trades. I am an engineer, I am a choreographer, I am a guitar teacher if I need to be, I am a producer and a beat maker. Like, I know this information. You have to source who owns the rights to a sampling track, track them down, send it to them, and wait for their permission. It's as simple as that. When you're working with producers, you're either buying it outright or you're licensing. You have to speak to that producer, but there are producers who are looking for artists like you, and then there's you looking for producers like them. You might want to work together and then work it out, but always, as an artist or a producer, always have that tough conversation as soon as possible, because you leave it to the end, it will all end in tears. It is difficult, and sometimes it's an argument to even bring it up, but it is brave, and I encourage that professionalism. And it's professional. I walk in a room and I say, okay, we're going to do this song, and it's like, oh, you wrote something on this song, do you want splits? Well, I didn't think of that. Yeah, we do want splits. Okay, well, I think that you get 15% on this. Wait a second, I just gave you the whole hook and the second verse and the bridge. Yeah, I didn't want you to, but you can have 15%. Oh, well, no, I don't think so. Well, do you want to take back your second verse? Yeah, hell yeah. tough conversation, but I didn't want you to write in the first place. Or you wrote it and that is dope. That's amazing. You want to go 50-50? Nah, I didn't write most of it. Let's go 50-50. Okay then, cool. Get the piece of paper out. Write that down. It's best advice I can give you for long-term income.
Okay, so next up we have Brains for Breakfast, originated in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands. I actually met Brains for Breakfast through being a graphic designer, and they wanted me to do some work for them. I did posters for them for their Switzerland tour that they did in 2018, and they've come back to me for a few cover designs. And their music is really just upbeat and chill, and like they're really good to work to. So I'm going to introduce some of their new songs that have been released this year.
Forcing me getting higher. Now there is no going back. Not sure how much I can hack. It's tough, but I'm gonna have to take the slack. Seatbelt, high rise, high speed, no speed. I'm feeling everything is going fine, but it's all for show. And I'll enjoy the rest of my day. When I land, it all will be okay. And I'll enjoy the rest of my day. When I land, it all will be okay. Just remember to forget the fear and it will go away. Forget me down from here. Forget me down from here. Elevation, helping as I get older. Face my fear and fly over. Friendly as it's coming closer. Speeding up, winding some closure. Kosher, sit tight, lean back, no fear over here. I'm feeling everything is going fine, but it's all for show. And I'll enjoy the rest of my day. When I land, it all will be okay. And I'll enjoy the rest of my day. When I land, it all will be okay. Just remember to forget the fear and it will go away. Forget me down from here. Forget me down from here. Seatbelt, high rise, no fear over here. Every time I look at you, all I wanna say to you is I'm a rare romance, a rare romance. Every time I look at you, all I wanna say to you is I'm a rare romance, a rare romance. And I like it when you go deep under my skin. Get back to the place that you want me to be. And I crave you, crave you, crave you, crave you. Young love, rare romance. Young love, rare romance. Come over here and I'll show you what to do. It might seem strange, but I'll need this from you. It might seem a bit strange to you. I'll do anything and I won't label, 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 label. Young love, rare romance.
So up next is our interview with Liz Beech, who works here in Birmingham at Birmingham Centre for Art Therapy. So she actually is a drama therapist who helps young people kind of work through their own issues. And we managed to get a lot of information out of her. So here's for you guys. So hi everyone, thanks for joining us for the motivebhx. Well, it's a music studios event, but we're also talking about mental health and stuff as well. We're joined here by Liz Beech, who's an arts therapist, and Hannah, who's an assistant psychologist and who's got some experience in psychology as well. Yep, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
So I'll go first then. My name's Liz Beech. I am a drama therapist and I'm also a referrals manager for Birmingham Centre for Arts Therapies.
I'm Hannah. I'm a psychology master's graduate. Being an assistant psychologist, I also do like tutoring for psychology students. But yeah, that's my background.
Yeah, so what is Birmingham Centre for Arts Therapy?
Okay, so Birmingham Centre for Arts Therapies, we call BCAT for short, BCAT. It was founded as a charity and still is a charity for the last 25 years. Obviously, it's central to Birmingham. It's I would call it a central hub where we do 3 different things. We provide freelance therapists and connect and provide therapy for clients. And we call them clients being practitioners. So for people who are needing any support within a therapeutic or therapy way. We also have a side which is an arts and health side, which is a fantastic arts in the community process where we go out into the community. We provide creative projects and forums where people can just join together within the community and be creative. And the other side is that we also provide workshops, experientials, and voluntary. We provide like a voluntary program for anybody who wants to become an arts-based therapist or anybody who wants to go out in the community and be a facilitator.
Oh, cool. Do you kind of limit your work inside BCAT, or do you do drama therapy outside of the centre?
Yeah, so I'm also a drama therapist on in a Young Offenders Institute, and I work in an OPD service for emerging personality disorders, and I'm part of a clinical team for that. And I also am a freelance drama therapist where I see clients through BCAT as well, and I'm able to practice as a drama therapist in that way as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, so what does art therapy involve?
So arts therapy is broken down into 5 different disciplines. We have music therapy, art therapy, dance movement therapy, drama therapy, and play therapy, which is coming, working its way up to being a master's level trained modality. So like Hannah was saying, with her profession, we're all trained as healthcare professionals, and we're all trained up to a master's level. So what we then are able to do is use our discipline. So for mine personally is drama, that's what my background is, and then we're trained psychologically to use our art form. So example for me, my drama art form is my main mode of communication, how I connect with the person, the client, the group, and the art form is what keeps everything safe, creative, and we're able to work through any issues or underlying problems through the actual art form. So yeah, I suppose within those modalities, and using that as the main form of communication, the modalities are used within schools. We work in, with Autism West Midlands. We work in lots of different outreach locations, and we also work inside the Friends Institute as well. So our reach goes anywhere and everywhere, because it's client-centered. So whatever type of person gets in touch and needs a therapy, then we'll provide the therapist for that.
Are you okay with going into what drama therapy involves, and like how do you work with your clients?
Yeah, so my drama therapy is embedded in play. So we work a lot with, I suppose, I'm just trying to think of the best way to sort of explain the way that we work, 'cause it's such a flexible framework. But we work through things like role play. So you don't have to be good at acting. It's not to see how good you are at acting or becoming, you know, a superstar or anything like that. It's about the key things to acting and theatre, which is, you know, if you identify with a character on telly or a character in a book or a story or a journey, we'll focus in on that specific character, not the person, but the person or the character that the person has chosen, and we'll identify with why, what do they like, what do they dislike, where does that person take us, and that person can almost act as a guide on a journey. So we'll explore problems, we'll explore difficult situations that the character goes on rather than the person. So then that provides that distance, and the creativity is what keeps it contained and safe and creative as well. So we use role play quite a lot. We also use object relations. So we'll build like mini things out of objects, and what we'll do within the miniature worlds that we use is we're able to step back, see what a person has created, and it's all about the insight. So by stepping back and looking at what might have transpired through the creativity, it's the same as if someone jams with their musical instrument. It's the same as if somebody paints a piece on a canvas. What's coming out and what's created is something that's unconsciously coming out, and you then are able to step back and reflect on that. So it's not directly face to face, and it's not talking. And I suppose drama therapy and the other therapies, anybody who finds it really difficult to talk and communicate through talking, can find that the creative therapies, the arts-based therapies, are a really good way to work that out. And not every therapy is right for every person. Some people don't always go with the creative side of things because it's too raw. You know, playing and all of that, and talking therapies really work for them. So it's about really going with what the client is, what's best for the client.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So how are you kind of coping with having, like, due to the current like situation with COVID-19, how are you kind of adapting your therapy to working online, or is that how you kind of changed it? Have you adapted it or anything?
Yeah, so Birmingham Centre for Arts Therapies, obviously we have, like everything else, suspended all one-to-one or paused, as we like to say, or one-to-one contact. But what we've actually advised is that because our therapists are freelancers, they are autonomous practitioners. They're allowed to, or well, allowed's the wrong word actually, if they feel it's appropriate, and they have the client's consent or the referrer's consent or parents' consent, then they can do their connecting online, virtually or by phone, or they provide materials via email for them to work on, which acts as a creative container. Yeah, that's how I know that a lot of other practitioners are working. Myself, I'm working purely from home, obviously, so I have a lot of interaction with my team. We've done a lot of preparation for, obviously, with people that are sort of in prison. We've had to really be mindful of going into isolation and what that can actually evoke in people. So we've put a lot of packs together, a lot of distraction packs, self-soothing packs, also things for people like prison officers or people who are on the front line. We've done a lot of work in providing de-stressing exercises, distraction exercises, and we also offer space as in supervision to other professionals. So yeah, that's how I'm working at the moment.
Do you find that a lot of young people kind of have accessed the BCAT in the past?
Yeah, so it's because it's been around for quite a long time. We are, I would say, pretty successful in how many people we are able to work with. But the accessibility is a really interesting question, because a lot of our referrals for younger people come in through schools, or they'll come in through family support networks if they've got social workers or key workers or things like that. So the initial contact will always come through a second or third party. And because we do a lot of arts and health in the community-based projects, it will be the person who runs the centre or the organisation that will refer for a group, or for us to go in and facilitate a group. So if I'm honest, I'm tending to find that it'll be somebody referring a younger person, and that has a lot to do with, you know, especially up to the age of 18, you know, people and the consent that is needed, and the support, because actually if someone accesses therapy or something therapeutic, the work is actually done outside of that space a lot of the time. So whatever is worked within the actual hour that it tends to be, they need a good network, a good load of people who really understand for the work to continue outside of the therapy space. So I suppose a lone person who's young accessing BCAT is something that doesn't generally really happen. They can access the groups that we provide. Their mums or parents or carers or teachers can bring them to the groups, but that doesn't tend to happen under the age of 18.
Okay. So since this is aimed at young people, what's your best advice for young people struggling with their mental health right now?
So, you know, I could reel off a load of websites. I could reel off, you know, what people are saying, what advice is out there. But, you know, I think it's really important. And I can only say from what works for me and what I know works for people that I know and I see. And it's about, my key thing is to stay active. Now, staying active for me, and what I would advise, is because your body and your mind is connected, you know, and if stuff's starting to turn or still, or things in your mind are starting to work in a different way, we need to engage the body, because what the body will then do is work in a specific way that will allow whatever's going on in here to come out in different ways. So, you know, if you're building up anxiety that's connecting down into your tummy, so you start feeling anxious in your tummy, you know, you start feeling a little bit upset in your tummy, you know, the best thing you can do is get up and you can move, because you're dispelling all of those different chemicals that are building up, all of those feelings. So my first one would be to stay as active as you possibly can. My second thing would be is to talk to somebody, and find somebody to talk to. And sometimes that can't always be the people that are right there in front of you, family, those kind of things. And I would say access somebody who's really able to listen to you. So somebody who's able to sort of just sit back and give you that space. That's really important. So like a really unbiased person who you can actually use as your confidant. If you know that things are just starting to kind of manifest and start to kind of emerge for you in your brain, if you can access one person and say, look, is it okay if I check in with you once a week? I might not say anything, I might have a rant, I might get on my soapbox, I might just need to cry, I might just need to have a nice conversation with you. Find that person. That's really, really important. Yeah, my next one would be is to be creative, obviously, because when we're younger and we're in the play and we used to go out to play, It would be in the playground or on the football pitch or whatever, where you would work out your problems, whether you realised you were or not. You know, you would try to act out stuff that you were witnessing as a young child. So you might pretend if you're a little girl, I'm going to the shops, or I'm going to put on my mum's heels like I used to do, or I might pretend I'm cooking. Or so it's a way that we work things out. And as we grow up, a lot of our access to the spaces that we can play become less and less, because we grow up and we have to work and be responsible. So we lose the essence of what creativity does. So if there's something that you haven't done for a while, you haven't picked up that guitar in the corner, you haven't picked up that paint set, or that colouring in, you know, colour by numbers, or, you know, for me, it's little things like the books I used to be really into, that since I got all these jobs, I haven't been able to pick up the books that just allow my brain to go somewhere. So being able to do that, being creative and being able to express yourself creatively, really allows, whenever things are starting to work and to build up, it gives them an outlet. So those would really be my main things.
Yeah, that last one is kind of hits close to home, because I'm sitting here looking at my paintbrushes and I haven't picked them up in a really long time. But yeah,
and that's it. Because sorry,
I used to, like, drawing was my favorite thing, and then I did psychology. I keep thinking about how much I want to, like, draw and stuff, but I keep not doing it because I've got other things to do. But it's in the back of my mind, because when I draw, my mind is absolutely just focused on drawing. I'm completely relaxed, because I'm literally, and because I'm a very, very much so perfectionist, I remember I used to find it really relaxing, and I'd get lost in it for ages.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And I think, you know, we were talking about what we, at this particular time, this where we are at the moment, what are the positives? What does this space and this pause allow us to do? What can we reconnect with? You know, and if your instinct is to go, actually, there's some paintbrushes, you know, actually there's that's something, that's your body and your mind craving something to just do and to switch off, distanced. So don't ignore that craving. Don't ignore that what your creativity, that's your creativity needs to come out. You need somewhere to express yourself, and you know what you do with that paintbrush is just as important with what someone does with some strings on a guitar. It's just as important to what space someone goes into if they're putting on a bit of fancy dress, or they're going to do their hair the way they like it. They're going to put a bit of lipstick on. I mean, I put my lipstick on because it makes me feel better. That's my creativity. I don't want to stop doing that. I want to remind myself of there is more than just, you know, what is happening. So yeah, don't do that. Reconnect.
Yeah. So how can therapy differ for young people from different age brackets, or does it differ, like from ages 10 to 14, or like 14 to 18, 18 to 24?
Yeah, so I like to think that the arts doesn't really categorize people. I think the only way that it differs is that if someone's very young, they might do play therapy, but because creativity is not about how good you are or where you should be, or how well you can do something. Creativity in a therapy way is about whatever it needs to be at that particular moment in time. And it's a really difficult question to answer, because developmental wise, there's plenty of different ways we could bracket how somebody is developed, and we could look at the type of therapy they could do that is directly linked to their developmental phase. If you want to go into kind of like a more of a psychodynamic way of thinking, if somebody engages in objects more than anything else, talking from a drama therapy point of view, and they really connect to it, we could put that to the point of where the baby knows that there's more than just the self. There's an arm and there's a leg, there's a dummy, there's a mummy, all of those different things. So that's how I suppose as a therapist I would break it down, but just I don't think it does. For me personally, from being a referrals manager for so long, there's no stigma, there's no age separation, there's nothing. It's just the creativity and the therapist and the client. So it's that triangle. There's nothing else really. I don't know if anybody else feels differently about that, but
yeah. I think this is the last question as well. What resources can young people access and use for signposting in this current situation?
So in this kind of situation, I would say they can always contact first and foremost BCAT and myself. We have lots of packs that we can send out. We have, we have, like I say, distraction packs, self-soothe packs, ideas for keeping yourself busy, creative ideas. My other advice would be to reach out to anything that's actually within your community. You'll find that's lots of people who are coming together now. Again, I could signpost you to Birmingham Mind, to the Samaritans, and people like that. But it's actually about those first steps, which for me is acknowledging that you're not feeling quite right. Reaching out, the next step would be to reach out to somebody. And I would also say that don't spend too much time online. Limit that. I know that we're going back to the other question, but I think it's quite important to know that you can spend too much time looking at things and getting absorbed in things, and that can create a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety. So to limit that time, to have a check-in so you can see what's going on. But I would say that should have really come on top of the best advice. But access anything within your community. Access us. I'm not just saying it because I'm from BCAT, but we can even get you set up to go into things in the community once all of this is finished. or however you want to frame it. We can definitely connect you with people. I can signpost you personally to different things. But I would say look at what your community is doing, look at what your friends and what your family are doing, because perhaps there's been a while that we haven't connected with those kind of people as well.
Okay. Well,
sorry, and, like if I was gonna add on to that list, even though you don't spend too much time online, there's quite a lot of YouTube videos that have oddly made me feel more connected to, like Russell Brand's YouTube channel. He talks a lot about like spirituality, mental health, and people who have addiction, stuff like that.
Yes.
I find YouTube really helpful. Obviously, you've got to not look at the stuff that's maybe not like helpful, but like Russell Brand, his content is absolutely incredible. And then like if you want to look at like health stuff as well, there's so many different like cooking programs for like healthy vegan foods or healthy whatever foods. Like I've found through lockdown how much I love cooking, so just like you can get a lot of inspiration and stuff through YouTube. So I'd say that is worth looking at if you're looking at the people with like healthy content. And then as well, like when you were talking about self-care, like the active one is definitely like a massive one. But I think at the moment, because everything's slightly heightened, I think in just upping your self-care maybe more than you would usually. So just making sure self-care is absolutely vital every single day. So like in our everyday lives, sometimes maybe you'd let things slip, like maybe you wouldn't get the exercise done, or maybe you whatever. But if you make the self-care, I think at the moment, really vital, I think that can make lockdown the difference between absolutely miserable or manageable and actually like some quite positive things happening. So, but I think like everything you said about like expressing yourself through creative means and mind and body connected, it's really interesting like for me to learn, because through doing a psychology degree you don't really learn about the arts therapy side of things. So I'd definitely be interested in learning more about like that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
I agree. I mean, I think YouTube is a really positive source, and those kind of web sources are brilliant, and absolutely, I think Russell Brand is, I agree with you on him. I think he's an incredible, or developed into this really interesting character now that
he's amazing.
It's brilliant. Yeah, so I definitely think that, and the self-care and the self-nurturing and the staying and active is really, really important, and I completely agree with you. And also as well, if you just a bit of advice, I suppose, with if you're ever working with anybody and they're unable to tell you or talk to you, but you can feel that there's something that they want to say, pick up a ball, pass it to each other. Sounds ridiculous. You got some bean bags to hand, chuck them at each other, you know, do something that is so simple like that, takes the focus and the shift away from the very intense, I'm here because I just want to find, it's like, let's throw a ball, tell me about yourself, and then it will loosen everything up and it will help people just relax. So yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna probably like jump in for this phase. I think Atika, those are like your main questions, weren't they?
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna take it a little bit sort of deeper in terms of that consideration, and I know I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but I'm coming from one part of my life of being a qualified teacher, and I've worked in behavioral institute, worked in prison schools, and that kind of world where there's young people with masses going on. I'm also then kind of coming from a world where we've been showing young people how to put on events, and I've come across a lot of artists, lots of people kind of graduating, and part of my undergrad was in behavioral psychology. And I think that there's a real value in you kind of talking a little bit more about that whole play and what just doing something that doesn't take brain power does. Why is it actually, why do we use play therapy? Why do we use drama therapy? What's happening at the brain that's going to help somebody through it? Because on surface, you can imagine people going, oh God, I don't need that. Like, what's drama? I never did drama, so I never liked it. What's dance therapy? What's music therapy? I can't play an instrument. So if we use the word play and the arts, like what's happening to the brain?
Yeah, so
and go as deep as you want. Like, let's name parts of the brain. For the super geeks, they need this bit.
well, I'm not a neuroscientist.
I'm just joking.
But the way that I suppose I can best describe it is that if we go back to play, the reason why play is so beneficial, and play can put into any context. The instruments we play, the games we play, how we play with the paintbrush pens, the roles we play in life, and what we do, or what has happened, what happens to us in our, like I said, our developmental years, is that we learn about our capacity to self-soothe, our capacity to be alone, our capacity to communicate, our capacity to know who is going to reciprocate to us, our capacity to get questions answered, and play is really about finding all those things out and testing our limits and testing our space for that. But what play also does is it allows us to get in a mess, and it allows us to get into a safe mess. Now, messy play is really, really important, and having a space, which therapy does, allows people to get into a state of a mess, which is distanced through the art form. So for instance, I could put a load of objects into the middle of a space and say, make the biggest mess you can possibly make. So with those objects, I will be able to see if people can't make a mess, or if they have to have things in order, which means that their ability to play is limited in a specific way. If their play is limited to having to be very ordered, to having to make sense of things, I would then look at where that lies in with their attachment theory, with what their attachment is, which is how they're attached to their caregivers, you know, things like if they're very clingy, if they're ambivalent within their objects or with myself or within the dynamics of their relationship.
Can you break down ambivalent? So what do you mean ambivalent?
So if you're ambivalent to something, it means, well, for me, in the context of drama therapy, is that it's kind of like, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. I'm quite ambivalent to it, really. I don't really care that I'm sat there with all these things and, you know, I'm here. It doesn't make a difference if I'm having therapy with you or if I'm not. It doesn't make a difference that all this stuff's here. So for me, that would dictate to me that that potentially they've never really been given the opportunity to play. I mean, that's not.
It's theory. It's theory. Yeah. Like
that's just, you know, hypothesizing. So ambivalence would be something that I would go, okay, so why are you not bothered? What is it? I mean, I'm sure that you certainly are bothered, but what is it about your relationship with me and me giving you a space makes you become ambivalent? So for me, I would then maybe go, well, actually, what was ambivalent about the relationship or about the play space when they were younger? Why do they not really care either way? Have they had to learn to grow up and had to learn to develop with an ambivalent caregiver?
Wow.
So that's how you, and then it's about who you represent as a therapist. Do I then become mom or dad or the caregiver? So they're ambivalent towards me. So then my relationship and the role I then become in drama therapy. So I become they're projecting stuff onto me. So I become a certain person to them. So their interaction will be whoever they're so the projection we're talking about, you're probably looking at me now and I might remind you of somebody. So every time I talk or I speak, you might not be able to get that other person out of your mind, which means that you might react to me as if you're reacting to the other person rather than actually who I am. And that role that you've put me in is a really useful role for me to play as a therapist, because they can work through any issues or problems through the role that I play to them.
Okay, so by starting with play, we start to unlock some journeys, and in one case scenario, you can end up being the person that the patient or the student or whoever has got a problem with, and then you can give them a space to say things to you whilst they think of you as the bad guy. They can say stuff to you that they can't say to the real life bad guy.
Yeah, because I might go, oh, you're making me feel like I'm the Wicked Witch of the West here. So let's play that I'm the Wicked Witch of the West. So what would I look like? And they might describe how I might look, or they might draw how I might look, or they might put some material on me. So I then become that person. And I say, so if I'm playing the Wicked Witch of the West, who are you playing? And they might turn around and go, oh, I'm going to play. They might even surprise you and say, well, I'm going to play the Tin Man. And so I can, like, if I pour water on you, I can make you shut down and I can make you rust and make you stand still. So then you might look at the relationship between the Wicked Witch of the West and the Tin Man. Yeah. And because you're doing that, you're distancing me from being me and the therapist, and you're distancing the client and their actual what's going on for them. So the creativity and the modality is that communication now. And then we'll go on the journey, we'll go through the story, we'll pause in points and see how they're feeling. And so that's how the play works, because we're playing with characters, we're playing with roles.
So that's interesting. So from literally just figuring out how somebody works, even with just something like a mess, we can help them unlock parts of their brain, because at the end of this all, it's communication, I'm guessing. Like drama therapy, art therapy, music therapy is the main objective, getting people to communicate when it's difficult.
Yeah, I think that we have to use language really importantly there, because what we don't do is get them to do anything. What we do is we facilitate their insight. So
the answer's inside them already.
Yes.
It's just allowing it to come out.
Yes,
because when we want it to come out.
when they have insight, when you have insight into something, then change happens.
Ooh.
For us, when you have life drama connection, I can see my life playing through the drama of those characters. I have the life drama connection. I have the magic moment, which can take weeks, it can take months, it can take years. But when you have the connection and the insight, the client does, that's when the change happens. So all you're doing is facilitating that.
Amazing. Okay. So now the next question is, once maybe we know that there's something going on inside us, and imagine like being, you know, say 14, 15, 16, if you're not going to your doctor, but you think something's not right, and you're kind of interested in this, what are the ways of people kind of connecting, like in a practical sense? Do you start by an email first? Do I go on Twitter first? How do I start to engage?
So I suppose the best way, I think for me, I think the best advice I can give, which I give to people of that age who do actually go on the website and email, or they've spoken to their mom, or they've spoken to their friends or their teachers, people generally speak to somebody first. And I've found that that's quite a normal thing to happen. Sometimes somebody else will be the one that calls up, and then I'll make that call to the actual person. So
if I'm the person right now and I'm like, yeah, you know what, there's certain demons, I know I can't talk to anyone in my family, like, and maybe I am going to talk to someone. If I go down the Google route, what should I type in on Google? And if I go down I'm going to talk to someone first, how should I, what words should I maybe use to start for them to know that maybe it's the type of therapy that I need? What might be certain keywords?
Well, I think that, first of all, that's putting a lot of pressure on people in order to know the keywords and what to say, because when we're in a heightened level of anxiety, when we're troubled by stuff, we can't always find the words. We can't say, pick up that phone, we can't always do that. So that's why I find it quite difficult to answer that question of giving somebody the exact advice to do, because, or the exact advice to follow. My advice would be is to find a confidant, find somebody who can help you make that phone call, who can help you research, or find something creative in your community or your school where you are trying to decipher like-minded people. And the way that I've seen that best happen in the last 4.5 years is because people connect through a creative modality.
What's modality mean?
Modality is, if you like art, you'll find somebody or a group of people, or somebody at the school with your art class. Or if your modality, or the mode that you like to work in, or the mode that makes you...
Okay, like the medium you like. So what your art form is, okay.
Yeah, that is where you're going to be able to communicate. So that means if you can just find a way of going, actually, that person's in my art class, or that person I see and likes the same kind of music as I like, but I don't have the confidence to go and make that phone call or do that initial thing, I can at least start. What happens is people start isolating themselves. People forget to connect, and they forget the power of community and community creativity. And what we're finding is that social isolation through being online, social isolation of when things are starting to happen, we go back into ourselves. Very often it's just about opening back up again and just becoming involved in something and sharing a bit of your anxiety whilst you're painting or doing something with somebody else, that then you're able to make those first steps. So if you're really talking about actually making those first steps and actually making a difference to yourself when you're recognizing things aren't quite right, for me, if you haven't got the confidence to go and type in I'm feeling down, what can I do? Right? Or whatever, however it comes out of your mouth or in your mind, which might be, I can't leave the house. What can I do? Whatever happens in that way, you're going to put it into the computer. You can't think like how other people think about how. I'm trying to say, like, it's how you think, how you communicate. But if you've got somebody out there that knows that you feel you can trust, that can help you, my advice would be to reach out to people first and foremost. Is reach out to somebody who you know, somebody who's tangible, somebody who you can look at in online like this, or you can actually speak to on the phone.
Amazing.
I don't think I've ever reached out. I think like the first step is just kind of like how Liz said earlier, like knowing that something's going on mentally. Like there's some self-talk going on in your head that isn't probably like positive for you. Just being able to vocalize that, just being able to say, why am I feeling sad, and putting that into like Google, which I've done in the past as well. But yeah, just knowing like how to reach out, and I think reaching out is probably one of the most difficult things. But yeah, I think in every community needs like a therapist, like a counselor, something like that.
Hannah?
What was the question? How do you feel about reaching out?
Yeah, more or less. Or how have you gone about it? How have you taken the first steps to reach out?
For me in my life, if I've ever struggled with any mental health problem, I had like a good, I think first of all talked to my parents about it, and then like friends about it as well, and like looked it up. But I think the chances of you reaching out are going to really depend on your upbringing and depend on your personality type, and also depend on what you're suffering with. So I think, like, so for example, I've come from an upbringing where everybody talks about their feelings quite a lot, and where anxiety levels are quite high, but I've always known that it's okay to talk. It's okay to talk about how you're feeling. I think reaching out can be much easier for some people and much harder for some people as well. But I think if everybody knows that simply by reaching out, that it will lift some kind of weight off your shoulder, even though it can be hard to feel that way. I think that's like an important message for everyone.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can't cover everybody with the same blanket, right? There's not enough blanket to go around for everybody. So, like, I think you're right. It's about there has to be some courage that comes from the person, but also the person has to want to do it, because there has to be a level of stepping over an engagement from the person. I would never ever contemplate doing any sort of therapy with anybody that wasn't invested in some way. So sometimes I think what I'm trying to say is that sometimes before it gets to that point where you have to go to the doctors, you have to go to therapy, before we get to that, it's about doing things that is a little bit easier for you, which is actually, is there a person, or is there a group, or is there something that I can just go and be part of and be sociable with and interact with people, take myself out of this isolated place that I'm in, and then develop from there, I suppose. And you know, I'm not saying that this is easy in any way, shape or form. I think you're absolutely right. You know, what's easy for one person isn't easy for another, but I just think it's about trying to have the courage and not separate yourself too much from people.
Yeah, and you also make quite a good point about what works for one person might not work for another. So I just want to spend 2 or 3 minutes and let's like looking at the types of like maybe like stigma that people may have. So like, does it matter if you're a male or female, and does it matter what kind of cultural background you're from? Like, you know what I mean?
I think yes, to all of those.
Go on.
I think that cultural backgrounds play a big part in approaching therapy or therapeutic intervention. I think that a lot of therapists fall into a certain category, white, female, middle class, whatever category we're put into. So I think it does make a big difference. That's why I think when my advice is finding somebody that you connect with, it's about finding somebody you connect with, not initially somebody who thinks that this is what you do and don't need to do. It's actually, I've recognised something in that person, and I've clicked with that person. I wonder if they can help me, or I wonder if I can get to know them, which helps. Because, you know, we're desperate in the therapeutic world to have more men from different religious backgrounds, different ethnic minorities, different, you know, every type of person is
welcome. There's room for everyone in when it comes to therapy.
100%, but we're not getting people coming through, and we're not getting the men, and we need more men to use their creative outlet to help to grow and to help other people in the community, because men's mental health is where we really need to be focusing on a lot of stuff.
That's I never really knew that. That's actually such a really important thing. So even if you're an artist right now, there's a conversation to be had of maybe you don't have to be the frontline person in a grime band, in a whatever type of band. There is actually room for taking your music into therapy. There's room to take your art into therapy. There's room to take your dance into therapy. Even if you're not even creative, there's just room for you in therapy as males.
Because I think a person who is an artist, i.e. takes their modality or their method seriously enough to go into a band or to be painting all of the time or to be doing something, they will understand in their body and soul what that means for them, what they work through, how it helps them. So if you understand how that helps you already, you will know what the healing power of creativity is.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, so that's really important. But my advice is always, you have to live your life as well. You know, you have to have that experience of living, and everybody needs to go out there and live and make mistakes and earn some money and love people and hate people and do, you know, because that's part of who you are and how you develop and how you enrich your life and your ability to be able to then sit with somebody or a group in a therapeutic way and be able to really connect and understand. What you'll then be doing is using your instrument or your paintbrush or your clay or your drama to communicate with. So yeah, absolutely. If you can really play your instruments and you really understand how music communicates and how the different levels of how things work, and if you paint and you understand what painting has done for you, or why you've laid that really thick on that piece of paper, why you've needed to get your hands into some clay or into some sand, and what that does for you, you know, and you really understand that really means that you've got a connection and understanding what the language of the artwork is, and that doesn't necessarily. Yeah, do you understand? Sorry.
Yeah, that's amazing. No.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that's something that clinical psychology is really missing, or that's why arts therapy really has its place, because it's a lot of emphasis is about connection, and about the importance of who you can relate to or who you can connect with, whereas clinical psychology, obviously I know it's needed and stuff and everything like that, but I don't think there's as much of an emphasis with connection, like there's building rapport and stuff between therapist and client. But I think that's what arts therapy really does, is allows you to find a connection in ways that other things can't really help you, if you know what I mean. So it's really positive.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, like I said, I think you've opened eyes. I think sometimes a lot of people as well, not only in terms of diversity, but a lot of people think that all this therapy stuff is about being kind of a super geek, or you got to be like all A stuff. Actually, what you're also saying is you've got to live a little. It's not just all about being technically kind of like gifted. You've also got to be a bit real, and you've got to be able to connect with people from different walks of lives, because that's kind of, you know, part of the job, I'm guessing.
It's a journey, right? It's all about the journey. It's all about when I was 14, I thought I was going to win an Oscar. I was going to be on the stage. I was going to be the best actress in the world. I, you know, went to Butlins, and I was a red coat at Butlins because I wanted to be on stage.
Amazing.
Back, and then I was like, oh, I'm not earning any money. So I became a restaurant manager for 8 years and did that. And then something wasn't quite right for me. I wasn't happy. I was frustrated. There was something niggling. I wasn't doing anything but working, but I loved people. And then I thought, oh, perhaps I should do psychology and food. And then my sister who's a social worker, went, don't you have like a degree and a postgraduate degree in film and television? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, have you ever heard of drama therapy? And I'm like, I don't actually know what that word actually means. So that took me to get to the age of 38 and go through a whole profession and go around the circle of doing things in order to come out the other side of things. But I've worked with girls who are 24, 25, who know exactly what they want, and they've had life experience, but in a very different way. So don't ever not live your life, because that's where your resource comes from. Your resource is what you learn on that journey.
Yeah, that is so cool, because actually what I was going to ask is, yeah, how do people get into it? And I think your story is almost quite perfect, where you've gone and done something totally different, and then you've discovered it in your 30s. So kind of coming back to somebody who's like 18 about now, and they're thinking about stuff, and maybe even they're 21, 22, they've done a bag of courses. Like, what are the ways to get into it, and how long does it take for people to be, I wouldn't even say good at it, but what's the different types of timescales that you might be aware of to become qualified?
Well, for the arts therapists, I don't know how it works for yourself, Hannah, but we have to have, well, first and foremost, if you're 18 years old and you're into your creativity, do that first and foremost, because that is the most important thing, because that is your communication tool with understanding yourself, connecting to people, and making sense of the world. So invest in that. Second of all, get a job and earn some money, and get out in the world and earn some money, and build and understand what that's like, because that's life, and you have to do that. So it's about balancing, for me, those two things. But then I did my degree, and your degree should actually be within your art form. So mine was a degree in theatre, film and television. I thought I wanted to be a television producer at some point along my journey with one of my wild ideas. So I did a television producing postgraduate degree. So you have to kind of have that main bulk of your BA, or whatever it is you do. To become a therapist, you have to have about a year's worth of experience within the field. So voluntary, people tend to come to BCAP for that voluntary experience before they start their course. So they'll go out and they'll facilitate, or they'll support facilitators out in the community and be creative.
Volunteer for about a year is a good amount of time.
Yeah, I think so, because you can see the point of the longevity of a year is you're able to see anything that's changed within your client or the people that you work with. So you can kind of go, actually, I've done this for like a few months now. I know that I have to approach things in this way, or that didn't work the last time, or Tom and Dave are now sort of like becoming more confident where they weren't a year ago when I started the sessions with them. So having that longevity with everything as well allows you to see and have insight into how things can develop and change. So that's really important, the voluntary work, and actually doing something for nothing as well in regards to payment. Although I said get a job, when you're actually working in a voluntary way, it takes a whole new type of approach to things. and you learn to be really self-disciplined and get value from other stuff instead.
Yeah.
A lot of the volunteers actually have said themselves that they do suffer with, you know, mental health issues, or have, you know, had therapy in the past, or have, you know, had to work out, take stock and work through a few things, and they want to then go into creative voluntary work because it helps them, their process, puts things into perspective for them. So yeah, voluntary work is I think a really important place to go and
Okay.
be part of. Yeah.
And then after volunteering, how do I then, like, what happens to becoming qualified and being a legit
Yeah,
therapist?
you would type in, how do I become you'd be able to ask us, but you would type in universities for your MA, so your masters in drama therapy, play therapy. You can't do masters in play, drama, art, music, and then you would go to an open day, and then you would chat to some people, you'd have an interview, you would take part in sort of like an experiential type of day where you would go in and like, it's almost like a long day interview but very practical, because we're all practical in the drama therapy sense. And then you would be accepted. If you weren't accepted, you'd be told you might need some more experience, or this might happen. But if you're accepted, you then go on to a 2 or 3 year course.
This is for masters, right? Masters.
Yeah. Masters, yeah. Which then you have to do your placements within that as well. And you also have to have your one-to-one therapy and your group therapy yourself.
Oh, really? You got to go through therapy when you're studying?
Yep, I had
amazing.
My group, yeah, my one-to-one. I'm actually still just coming to the end of my personal therapy as well, which I've been doing since I was a student. Because you take responsibility. I was transitioning from being a professional to being a student to then being employed quite quickly. So I needed some creative therapy to help with the transition. So, which, you know, has been really useful for me, and massive insight into how I approach things, what I do, how I move forward with things. So that's coming to a close now. So you don't have to be fully in the thick of things to go for therapy. You know, it can be something that can be put, you know, actually I want to do it because of this, or for whatever reason. So yeah. So then you do your masters and you qualify and you become a healthcare professional. So that's how the creative therapists work.
And Hannah, clinical psychology?
If you wanted to be a clinical psychologist, you have to do a psychology degree, which is what I did. You don't necessarily have to have a master's, but because it's so competitive to get onto a doctorate, usually like a master's looks good. They usually then look for support worker experience. And I'd say anything up to 5 years experience in a mental health setting. So stuff like being assistant psychologist. There's like a few different avenues you can take, but because getting onto a clinical psychology doctorate is so competitive, a lot of the time you have to pretty much make it almost, well, you have to be extremely passionate about it, because it is so competitive. So I was personally put off. But when I finished uni, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go and do the doctorate to be a clinical psychologist and stuff. I felt in the process that ended up harming my mental health, because I found the experience of being a support worker quite difficult.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I think I would tell any psychology student. Even though I only finished my masters like just over a year ago, so I'm still going through this experience. You definitely don't know how you're going to feel about something until you've tried it yourself. Being a support worker for me really opened up my eyes. It was like really showed me, you know, how bad things can be, blah blah, for the people that are going through the experience. But it also, like, the experience of being an assistant psychologist showed me how much I enjoy teaching, showed me how much I enjoy research. So I think but if you want to be a clinical psychologist, the road is very long, rewarding if you want to do that. But when you're a psychology graduate, there's so many other things that you can do as well. So I think if you wanted to be an arts therapist from doing a psychology degree, I don't know whether there'd be like a conversion course, but I presume that it would be experience, but you'd go in and be like a volunteer and get that kind of experience first. But yeah, like you said about volunteering, I didn't realise at uni how important volunteering is, because you are doing it for nothing. I was a volunteer assistant psychologist, and also you might have this dream-like idea of a career that you want in the future, like you said about being like an actor, or when like you're a restaurant manager, you might have this dream-like thought about what it will be like, but a lot of the time it's not usually how you think it will be. You need to go out and do it, and then you'll find out. And usually a lot of the time the thing that you never thought that you wanted to do, you end up absolutely loving and finding a different side of yourself. So like gardening for me, like working in a garden centre before, I was like, wow, that's not, I wouldn't want to do it a long time, but I can see like the benefits of that as well. So I think, like you said, with being creative, I think another way to help your mental health is just by trying loads of different things and immersing yourself in life, because you never know who you're going to meet. Like, this conversation's really enriching. Do you know what I mean? Just giving things a try.
So I thought that was a really, really interesting video, especially in the sense that when we think about mental health and therapy, you mostly just think of sitting in an office, but there are, different therapists work for different people. And I like how she explained how you could get into it if you are interested, and if you have a creative outlet, you already understand how healing that is for you. So it's quite easy to bring that to other people and join in with groups and use art as a medium to talk through things and help each other.
Sort of one of the big things with learning is that everybody learns very differently and everybody adapts very differently, and having ways in which you can understand something that others might not be able to understand because you're doing it like a particular way. And if you can see or can find someone that says, actually, I understand what you're trying to process here and this is how it's going to work, then that's going to help so much, because knowing that you're not the only one, or knowing that you're not alone in this this mental state is so important.
What was most intriguing to me was how she talked about using drama as a way to play out certain situations. So I think that could be useful for like everyone. Like, sometimes it's scary to put yourself in a certain situation, but if you can act it out first, you can kind of tell that it's not as disastrous or as how horrible seeming it feels like at first, just at the thought of it.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like normal, not necessarily normalizing, but sort of letting you know that it's okay, and it's not as bad as it seems. It's just that because some people get in their own heads a lot, and it's that importance of saying, just taking a step back and going, okay, what are the pros and what are the cons of this, and how can we develop that? Yeah,
I think it's really interesting from like us, because I did psychology as an undergraduate, and I didn't know that arts therapy was a thing. So it's really useful for me as well. And anyone who's studying psychology, but also at the same time, someone who's studying drama.
Well, that's interesting, because I did a drama degree and I knew about art therapy. So it's kind of interesting that in psychology they don't teach you about the art kind of element of it, but then in an art degree they do speak about how you can use it to help people, and the connection to psychology.
Yeah. Next up is we've got a couple of tracks from Will, who was born in Zimbabwe and is currently living in Bournemouth. He is currently an artist as well as a photographer, and he recently started his brand called Pink Lemonade. We'll have all his socials on his track. So, yep. Here's Will.
Me so high, I'm never down. As I run around town, see them man over there, they just wanna be us, but you can't force the source, boy, you need to ease out.
Music ain't a waste of time, nor is it a waste of space. Wasting my abilities, the only thing that's taking place. Kick it back, build another zoo with the team. Already crowned a king, so what's the reason for a queen? She can't for the money, she want it with the team. We're going to the top, so we'll keep the goddamn preen. Moving like a spaceship, man, I'm moving Mazzoline. They say I got no diet, I am moving Charlie Sheen. Only writing verses like, what the fuck you mean? I started with the tens, now I'm buying OZs, my G. Now we buying OZs, my G. Now we buying OZs. Now I got an OZ, I ain't tryna sell it, bro, but no, I'm not a mailman. When you get my message, bro, started at the bottom, now I'm tryna stretch hella dough. Drip in my lyrics like I'm tryna make my money grow. Pair of Valentinos, tea from Kenzo Paris. I got love for my girl, but I ain't thinking about marriage. I ain't thinking about marriage.
Chicks with the kicks, run around town. Running on a army so high, I'm never down. When I run around town. When I run around town. I see them man over there, they just wanna be us. But you can't force the soul, spraying it to ease up. When you run around town. See me when you run around town. Mind over matter, but money over mind. So these niggas doing crime for a little bit of shine. Me, I'm a grafter. You man a jokers, I'm not here for the laughter. Here for the money or the galley come after. These fake ass hoes deserve an Emmy or a BAFTA. You bum ass niggas might need a trim and a BAFTA. You need to fix up. Big split for letters got me twist up. Not a fucking care in the world, but for this music that I'm jotting. I ain't joking, let them fucking niggas sleep. I know I'm plotting. Keep my head in the clouds and my eyes on the road. Got this pressure on my shoulders trying to carry heavy load. Fuck them niggas trying to doubt me, I can do it on my own. Watch me shake and bake the cake, don't need no flickers round the throne. Best believe I be going till I'm gone. Watch me shake and bake the cake, don't need no flickers round the throne. Watch me go. Chicks with the kicks, run around town. Running on a army so high, I'm never down. When I run around town. When I run around town. Said we on the way, now we on the way. Said we on the way. Low key shining from a distance, tryna get the glow right. Spark my own fire, I'm a star in my own right. Down my own path, get blinded by my ego. With my angel and my demon, moving like the Migos. Welcome on the one that ought to tell wherever we go. Sometimes, but guaranteed I'm still me though. To keep it real, the social life is so tedious. Take me back to the park, shooting free throws. Now we talking numbers, all done with the fun games. Do it for the love, but I'm tired of this dumb wage. Black and cold hearted, lost love at a young age. Now just trying to cope with this accumulated young rage. What can I say? I just had to grow, had to know my place. Know myself and control my pace. Show my face and control my fate. Grab the wheel by the neck, make it go my way. And now we on the way up. They really tried to play us, but now we on the way. Said we on the way up. They really tried to play us, but now we on the way up. Yeah, we on the way up. Yeah. As I let my mind wander, I wonder what exactly happens after the rain and all the thunder. Will the sun come out, or will I sink and drown under? But really and truly, I know that's up to me though. Dropping gems, making it look easy like a free throw. All that fake industry shit is really not for me, bro. Keep your glitz and glamour, I'm just speaking to the people. All your smoke and mirrors, we can see it through the peephole. I ain't tripping over what isn't or what could be. But one thing I know, I'm exactly who I should be. And if you catch me pretending, you can go ahead and shoot me. It's been a long fight, but God is not losing. All I can do is be grateful. And one day I'm gonna have my plate full. Family and friends gonna be great too. In any situation, always stay true. And never let the world make you hateful. Said in any situation, stay true to yourself. And never let the world make you hateful. And now we on the way up. They really try to play us, but now we on the way. Said we on the way. They really tried to play us, but now we on the way. Yeah, we on the way. Yeah.
So thank you to Will for sending those tracks. We all hope that you enjoyed them, and that is the final artist of the event today. So thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the speakers and the tracks.
Yeah, and if there is anyone in the interviews or the performances that you've seen today, their socials are going to be tagged down in the bottom of the description and also available on our social media pages as well. We also have, we are open to questions. So if you do have any questions or want to get involved with us or any Motive events, then you can always message us and we'll be able to support you in that.
Person who wants to get involved in supporting these events, hit us up on our socials. We are motivebhx. And if you're an artist who wants to have your music played on our platforms, then just, hit us up on our socials.
Awesome.
Okay, remember that when we're all out of isolation, then we do monthly events either in Birmingham, Warsaw, and Dudley's coming soon. So if you're from any of those areas, then please do attend if you've enjoyed this webcast.
Yeah, but other than that, that's it from us. So we hope you all enjoyed and hopefully we'll see you soon.